We're ready to begin with BYU. We have student athletes Moet Mag, Richie Saunders, Trevin Nell. We'll now take questions for the student athletes. Back here.
Trevin and Richie, what do you guys take from last year's NCAA Tournament game, and how is that serving to motivate and drive you guys this year?
I mean, definitely a lot of us on the team, that was our first time in this, with this opportunity. And we got freaking smacked. And, take a few key things right there is we got to come out and be the aggressor. And, this is where we've been around the block now, it feels like, as a team. And a lot of guys have been here in this spot before. And just with having all the confidence in the world and all the focus of just getting the job done and being the tougher team. That's my takeaway.
Yeah, I'll just double down. We're excited. We're excited to be here. I feel like we're battle tested, so I think that's kind of the difference. Mo's been in the NCAA tournament. We have a lot of, veteran dudes out here, and it's gonna be awesome to go out there and play again with our band of brothers and play our brand of basketball. I think that's something that we really got to double down on going into this game.
Other questions over here?
Mo, how much growing up in Australia? How much did you follow, March Madness, and what was your experience like at Rutgers playing in March Madness?
Well, going back in Australia, I was a young kid. I started playing when I was 12, but I was always a kid that was watching it on TV. At first, I didn't know what it was because I wasn't very familiar. But as I got to, I grew. Learning about the game of basketball, I kind of knew what it was and how big it was. And in regards to my time at Rutgers, was tremendous. I went there as a little boy, and then I left as a grown man. So I learned a lot, played a lot of games over there, and just great overall experience.
Other questions? Here we go.
Yeah, I don't know how much you guys hear all the noise surrounding your guys' matchup, but a lot of people picking the underdog against you guys. You guys are battle tested all year. Do you hear that noise, and does it affect how you guys prepare for the game at all?
It should have no effect on us. We're here to play basketball and play our basketball.
Anything else? Go ahead.
Richie, obviously everyone's making a big deal that your great-grandfather invented tater tots. How has that little nugget of information kind of resonated in the Saunders household?
It's hilarious. I don't know where that came out of. It just came out of nowhere. But yeah, my grandpa founded Ore-Ida. The great-grandpa founded Ore-Ida, which founded the tater tot, and it was hilarious how. I don't even know how it got started. Maybe Tyson knows, but it's just, I don't know where it came out, but we've had a lot of laughs and just in our house and had a lot of tater tots.
Like that one now, guys.
Jackson Payne, Deseret News. Trevin, you're a super senior. This is your last ride in college basketball. You've been on a lot of BYU teams over the past few years. In your opinion, what makes this team this year different from the rest that you've played on?
Yeah, it was super interesting. I was telling some of my teammates, even the coaches, that once our name popped up on March Madness, I was excited. I feel like it was such a different feeling than previous years. Like I said, I think we're battle tested. I'm super proud of our team, how the season started to where we are now. I feel like we're one of the hottest teams in the country. We're playing our brand of basketball. We're trusting each other and trusting God and just doing our thing. And so I think it's super fun to be able to play that way. And so we're super excited for our matchup against VCU on Thursday.
Greg Wrubell, BYU Sports Network. For any of you guys, how much has playing a pretty pressure-heavy group of teams, especially down the stretch, helped to face a team that does hang its hat on the defensive end and likes to press as well?
Go, Mo.
I feel like, you said one more time, please.
Just how much is playing a lot of pressure-heavy teams, especially late in the year, maybe prepped you for a team like VCU?
You know, I felt like it's very great. You know, I felt like you play to win, and also playing great teams down the stretch towards the season is what you want. You know, I feel like every team in March Madness is going to be a good team, no matter what seed they are. So I feel like we're battle tested, and I feel like it's actually great. I'd rather play them early rather than late. So I feel like it's just a great experience for everybody.
Right there.
Luke Evans, Denver Post. Trevin, you mentioned, one of the hottest teams in the country. You guys were on a huge win streak before Houston. Was there a turning point, in the season where you feel like things really clicked for you guys, or a moment or anything where you felt kind of a shift there?
Yeah, I would say when we played at UCF, we kind of UCF's another pressure-heavy team. They're really athletic, and we kind of just we turned the ball over a little bit in the first half. Coach Young really challenged us going into the second half, and I think that's when our momentum kind of shifted. That's when our mindset kind of shifted of, hey, we got to play our brand of basketball, but we have to be the tougher team. We can't let guys, knock us over. We have to be the first team that he kind of punches. So I think that was kind of the biggest shift, and then obviously the one at West Virginia was huge.
Follow right back on that. Does that experience, thinking back again, facing another kind of pressure-heavy team going into this matchup, do you think back to that UCF game and get a little bit of confidence knowing that that's kind of where that shifted for you guys, playing a similar sort of style?
Yeah, I feel like every Big 12 team is, pressure-heavy. Like we played Houston, we played Cincinnati, like West Virginia. All these teams are really pressure-heavy. They rebound really well. I think VCU hangs their hat on the offensive rebounding side of the ball. So I feel like we're, again, battle-tested, and we have, resumes, we have statement wins that can help us, challenge VCU in a different way. So I think it's going to be a great matchup, and I'm excited to play a team that's, at the caliber as VCU is.
Over to your left, guys.
Mark said we're sending you a union tribune. For Trevor and Rich, you've been there for a while. How excited were you when you realized you were going to be playing at elevation against a bunch of teams that are not from elevation, knowing what kind of advantage it's been for you all season? I think it's 17-3 this year at elevation and 7-6 at sea level.
Knock on wood, knock on wood. Yeah, I think the elevation was huge. I think we were really excited. It's closer to home. We're hoping to get, a lot of Cougar fans out there. But, yeah, I think it was huge for us.
I didn't really have much else to add other than we were happy that we were close to home. There's going to be a lot of blue in the stands.
Richie, you guys have been a really confident team, especially the latter half of the season. Did the loss to Houston and the way that game unfolded nick your confidence at all?
I hope not. It shouldn't have. Not for me personally, and I'm sure that's how it was for the guys. You take your losses, you learn, and you get back up. That's what we've done all season. 1-3, you lose at TCU, same thing. Other stretch of losses, do the same thing. You have to figure out how to build yourself up and keep going on. Exactly what we did at West Virginia after a tough little stretch of losses, right? That's what we've done all season. And just because we lost that one, we learned. Gonna have to, and we're grateful for the opportunity to respond.
Anything else? Okay, we'll dismiss the student athletes at this time. Thank you, guys. You can have a win. For BYU, we have Coach Kevin Young. We'll now take questions for the coach.
Kevin, you have any fond memories of this building as an NBA coach with the Suns? You even remember what your record was in here?
Don't remember the record. I know the last go around in the playoffs, they obviously got the best of us. But yeah, I think the year we made the finals, we swept them in the playoffs, and so that's always been my fondest memory of playing it here. Also have nightmares trying to guard the Murray-Jokic two-man game, which is, I stand by, one of the hardest things to guard in all of basketball. So I'm glad we're not having to deal with that.
And then can you just assess your team's readiness level going into, obviously, the most important game of the season?
I'd say high. Interesting just talking with some of the guys that were in this very similar situation last year, just picking their brains on some of the things they learned, trying to get ahead of maybe some things that they felt like on a team and individual level were mistakes from last year. So picking their brains, but I think I think that's what's great about the Big 12. You go through a lot of battles throughout the course of the regular season, even the postseason. So I think our guys are ready. We have a mature group, and definitely relying on their experience as well.
Right there.
Greg Wrubell, BYU Sports Network. Just first impressions of taking a building into a tournament venue, being on the podium with your name, seeing the logos, and having this experience for the first time.
It reminds me of, I was in the background obviously, but it's not like the NBA playoffs. It's more like the NBA finals. That's just what it feels like, where everything is amped up. There's way more media. So, I'm big on reference points, both with our team and even for me as I've gone throughout my career. So that's kind of what it feels like. But it's exciting, honestly. Like, this is something that as a kid was a huge fan of this tournament. And I think I've made this comment before, but every year in the NBA, every March would roll around, and you're watching this stuff from afar, and always like, man, I bet it's just so fun to coach in March Madness. And so here we are. So it's a little bit of a surreal moment, to be honest with you, but I'm just really excited for our players to be able to experience this with the group of guys that we have.
Right there.
Luke Evans, Denver Post. Kevin, I'm sure you've talked about this at length, but you mentioned trying to guard the Murray Jokic pick and roll. What kind of stylistic differences have you seen and adapted to in terms of bringing your knowledge of the NBA game to college this year? And is there any aspect of preparing for Game 5, Game 6, Game 7 from the NBA that you can kind of take and apply to technically one game series kind of in preparing for March Madness?
Yeah, I think just in general, like the NBA and college thing, it's more physical. There's a lot more contact is allowed in college. That was a huge adjustment for me. I was kind of crying about it a lot early on in the year. Then I just had to embrace it and just figure out ways around it. I think the spacing is a lot different in college and in the NBA. And then to your second part of that question, one thing that I always, when I went back and every year would go back and read my notes is for my playoff prep in the NBA. It was, as a coach, you get caught up in that, how are we going to guard Murray and Jokic and all these different schemes and stuff like that. But year after year, it came back to, rebounding. It came back to making quick decisions with the ball, and it came back to playing together, and that's stuff that definitely can rely on some of those lessons in this type of environment.
Jackson Payne, Deseret News. Coach, what are your thoughts on this VCU team as you scouted them throughout the week?
Really impressive. Coach Odom does a really good job with their group. I think they're a lot of experience across the board. They got a guy that they can trust in Shulga that can make plays when they need him and just kind of be the quarterback of their team. He's unique because of his size. He's able to get to his spots. He never really gets sped up. So been impressed with him on the tape. I think they have a very clear identity of how they want to play. They want to pick you up. They want to get after you. They want to turn you over. They want an offensive rebound. They got multiple guys that hit the glass. So for me, they have a clear style of play and things that, for us, ironically, is a lot of the things that we've talked about against some of the better teams in our league, in the Big 12, that have a lot of similarities. So going back to the reference points and so forth, being able to reference, at Iowa State, or being able to reference, at Arizona, or whatever the case may be. I do see some similarities with this club, but it's a really good team, and they're super well coached, and it's going to be a tall task for us.
Over here.
Mark Ziegler, San Diego Union Tribune. I think you're 17-3 this year at elevation, and you're 7-6 at sea level, or close to sea level. How much of an advantage is it for you guys to be sent to an elevation venue for these games versus teams that are not from elevation?
Definitely, I think it's more of an advantage than a disadvantage for sure. I mean, for us, going back to VCU style, I think we have a pretty distinct style how we want to play as well. I don't think it's a secret. We want to get out and run, just stylistically, and then you tack on the elevation to that as well. I think that's definitely an advantage for us. But honestly, like when I was in the NBA, like we would come to here, we go to Utah, and everybody would make a thing of it. And I'm like, okay, but after about the first, once you catch your breath, I think that stuff goes out the window. Personally, I don't think the players are overthinking like, man, we're at a mile high, like whatever, we're going to lose the game. So I just think that it's a lot of noise, to be honest with you, especially after that first kind of wave and they get it out of their system.
Anything else? Over here.
One, I'm just following up on before about the differences with the NBA and college games. Why do you think the college game has not evolved into what the NBA game has? Is it just that there aren't as many good three-point shooters, or why isn't the spacing the same and the reliance on the three the same as it is in the NBA?
We could be here for hours answering that question, but I think there's a lot of things. I think the rules, number one, the defensive rules as it relates to the first of all, the lane's way bigger in the NBA. You can't park anybody in there, right? So just on that alone, it's going to give you more open lane. Then you park shooters around that type of spacing. Where in the NBA, most teams are playing with four guys who can all shoot from three, some five. In college, not every team is constructed that way. So I do believe it's a roster construction thing. I don't think every team talks about shot diet and shot profile the way that they do in the NBA. There's a lot more, I don't know what the numbers say, but I would venture to guess there's a lot more, long twos that are shot in the college game versus the NBA. I also think that, like I said, the way that the game is officiated, it's harder to create advantages in college than it is in the NBA. One, because it's how it's officiated, but two, because of the skill level. In the NBA, respectfully, a lot of coaches look like geniuses because you draw up a play and a guy like Kevin Durant come off a shot. No matter how he's guarded, he's probably going to make it. You know what I mean? In the college world, you're not afforded that luxury. So there is a talent discrepancy that is part of it. But I think more than anything, it's just I think it's the rules, and it's how rosters are constructed. And I think I'm seeing it more and more. I think we're seeing it more and more. More college teams are getting more constructed like NBA teams, but I think it'll trend that way. But we'll kind of see how things evolve.
Anything else? Okay. One more.
Come on, Jackson. Don't be shy, dude.
Last question.
Mawot Mag's had a really interesting year, starting as a role player, getting limited minutes, entering the starting lineup. And it feels like as he's kind of taken on a bigger role as a starter, your season has kind of turned around, and you guys have caught fire, really. So talk about the value that Mawot brings to this team and what you've seen from him in this year.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was just a real lesson about just how valuable having guys that kind of been through the fire are. I mean, his personal case, he wasn't healthy when we first got him. It took him a minute to get his sea legs under him, but having a guy that can, just his assignment every night is to guard the other team's best player. That's freed us up, I think, in terms of how we sub our group. It's allowed us to go a little bit deeper, which I think our depth has really been something that's been a huge benefit for our team, and he's been a big part of that. So there's a large trickle-down effect by putting him in the starting lineup, and it kind of has sort of gave everybody else a bit of a placeholder, and it's gave us a lot more experience and toughness on the defensive end.
Okay, thank you for your time,
Thanks,
Coach.
everybody.
Just to remind you once again, Hammond Communications will post recordings of this press conference